My first ever property was a complete scam. The buyer's advocate was charging me absolutely zero for this advice that I was going to make $1 million in 10 years buying 10 brand new properties, meaning a block of land in the middle of nowhere that didn't even have a developed shopping center or transport corridor yet. And I was going to build on top of it, and that was going to create me the ultimate wealth. Lucky for me, I got out scot-free and actually made a little bit of money on the land before we even started the build. And today, my husband and I have a portfolio that has made over $400,000 in the past 2 years. So we have learnt a lot, grown a lot, and are now helping others find wealth. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how I made my first mistake and the lessons that I found along the way that will help you save hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm also going to teach you what this platform is for, what my channel is all about, who it's for, and why I am making content to begin with. So stick around because lesson 1 starts with someone trying to sell me a paddock in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to start off with my why behind my social media accounts, because I'm on YouTube, but I'm also on Spotify. I put up podcasts on there. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Substack now as well. So I've spread myself quite thin. But my main purpose is to educate and to give people real advice, because I'm finding these days there is just way too much noise out there from the media, from other buyers advocates, people that are not necessarily there for your best interests. And there are heaps of amazing buyers advocates. I'm not saying I'm the only one by any means, but there are definitely ones that are pushing you and pushing their agenda onto you. And then there are ones that are looking after you and your needs. And it's all about identifying those people, because those are the ones that are going to help you get to real wealth, and so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. My purpose is simple. It's to give you the knowledge of the different strategies within property and what might work for you and not for others, because everyone is different. There is not one cookie cutter, one size fits all. It's this location, it's this type of property. No, there are definitely a lot of different things you can do with property. And what I really want to do is help educate you into what will work best for you. So I hope this channel gives you that answer so that you can help yourself on your journey. Okay, so now we're going to go back into my first property and why it was such a shamble. So this buyer's advocate was actually recommended to me from my mortgage broker. He had no idea what he was doing at the time. I'm assuming he probably got paid for it, but honestly, he's a great guy, so I didn't hold it against him. The fact that I had never bought property before was really daunting in itself, so I felt like I needed the guidance. And the fact that this guy is coming from someone I trusted and for free, I was like, amazing. One thing that my naive mind didn't handle is that nothing is free. The guy was obviously getting paid by his counterparts because he was giving me everyone left, right, and center. It was the land, first of all. So the developer of the land, the builder, he had this boutique builder he was working with that he also recommended to me. He had a property manager as well that he was always sending me rental appraisals for, and down the track probably going to give me his property manager to help manage my property as well. So I'm assuming he's taking cuts from all these people because this was his main business. So if he's not getting fed by me, he's getting fed by others. Now, his strategy is one that I see online, and it now scares me a lot because these people are selling a dream, and especially now with these new government changes of negative gearing only is going to happen unless you've grandfathered your properties. You can only claim negative gearing on brand new properties. And then they're also going to get you with the high tax appreciation that you can get from the depreciation schedules because everything is brand new. So what it means is you can claim all the, and the newer something is, the more that you can claim to help your tax, offset your taxes. But I guess my main story here from this learning was that you should not be using tax or negative gearing as your strategy. It's a bonus. It's not something you should be chasing. So when I help my clients, I always end up looking at, okay, what is it that you want out of property? And usually they want something that they can build. They want off, so like as in they want to buy a few properties in the next 5 to 10 years. They want something that will become self-sustained so that they can get a bit of passive income. And they want something that's going to grow and let them sell in the future so that they can either buy their own home off the profits or use that money in retirement. So you've got rental income and capital growth. And the way that these two work doesn't rely on taxes alone. Yes, it can help with your borrowing capacity because you are getting more money back. But in terms of your ultimate goals, the tax incentives aren't going to help you with that. What helps you with that is buying a property in an area with high tenancy demand, with low vacancy rates, with high capital growth, or creating your own capital growth by buying an older property, adding some value to it through a cosmetic renovation. So you might change the floors, you might do a bit of a paint, you might change the curtains, do kind of really high-level cosmetic things, and that could turn around $100,000 instantly, rather than waiting for the market to move your property. So there are all these different ways, but none of them point to buy a brand new property in the middle of nowhere and just hope for the best. Because essentially that's what my first property was going to do for me. There's no research that it does well in capital growth or the tenancy rates, or would anyone even want to live out there? I didn't have any of that data because it's a brand new area. At the time that I bought the land, it was the last land in that particular lot, but already the trees had cleared out next to that for the next lot of housing development to go in. There wasn't even a bus that came out front of the property. And the shopping centre had just been built. This particular land, though, also proved a lot of problems, and I feel like that's another reason why they sold it to me, because they were like, we need to get rid of this one. It's where the owners of the development were actually sitting their display home on, or their display cabin, I guess. It's like their office. So essentially I bought it as a commercial property and I was getting commercial rental income from it. So I was neutrally geared for the first year by the time they moved off the land, which was great for me. But at the same time, the next step was, okay, we need to do the build. And when I started looking into that, the builder that the buyer's advocate had recommended me was actually a boutique builder. Now, there are many problems with that I see now that obviously I didn't see back then. A boutique builder is for a boutique home. It is for your home because you care about the finishes, you care about the little details. A property that's for an investment does not need gold brass finishes. It does not need fancy door handles or a beautiful kitchen that is like with a butler's pantry. Like, you don't need all of these things, especially when it's in the middle of nowhere. If you're buying a property that's in a really established area, a really highly regarded area, a blue chip area, then yeah, you need those additional things. But for something that's in the middle of nowhere, no, you just need something basic. So when I saw that they were charging me $300,000 above what they had charged me originally, or what they said they were going to charge me, and the rental income didn't change. So at the start, the rental income was $600 a week. 1.5 years after I bought the land, the rental income was still $600 a week. That's crazy. It should have gone up, but it didn't, because this area is brand new and there isn't demand. So you have to bring them in to understand that, yeah, we like this area, and then eventually, once it's more established, you can put up the rental income. But until then, you're actually stuck at whatever they are giving to get people in there in the first place. So anyway, there was all these issues with it, and I actually reached out to one of those bigger builds, so just like your standard cookie cutter kind of property, and I did get it to a price that I was comfortable with, and would have been $650,000 for the land and the house. But then I was looking, I could use that $650,000 for an established property, 3 suburbs inland, which was in the area of Logan Central, and you were next to the freeway, you were next to public transport, you were next to a developed shopping center, you had cafes, schools, all of those things around you, all of the things that tick the boxes, and the rental income was more and the land was double the size. So it was a no-brainer. I had to sell the land. This was not going to be a good investment property. I was going to be spending $800,000 on one property that wasn't even a quality property. As I mentioned, I actually did make profit off this land, so very lucky in that way, but not everyone is, which is why I am warning you all. If you hear of someone spooking, meaning just telling you have to buy this one particular way, this one particular property, or in this one particular area, don't listen to them. They have ulterior motives and they're not working in your best interest, especially when they are free, because they are definitely getting paid by someone else. How I would tackle this, if you still think that this whole new land, new build is a good idea because you want to get negative gearing for your own reasons, like I said, I don't think it's a good strategy, but if you do, okay, please, before you do anything, ask these advocates, who are you getting paid from? Why is it free? And let them squirm a little bit. But you need to ask them, and as anything in life, anything that is free, definitely ask, why are you doing this? What do you want from me? Or where are you getting paid from? Because that's the person that they're acting in the best interest of, not you. My next property has done really well, but also it's not the best investment property, and I probably could have done better. But at the time, we just wanted this one I was buying with my partner, now husband, and we just wanted something that was low in price, something that was beachside. We understood that the Gold Coast was growing, and we just wanted something that was walking distance to the beach. We found something that was for $450,000, one bedroom apartment in a multi-level building. All of those things, I have so many flags there. One bedroom apartment, flag, doesn't always give you the best rental returns. In this particular case, because it is beachside and there's a lot of demand for holidaymakers and we were treating it like an Airbnb, it did make sense and actually worked out that way. But in general, stay clear of one bedroom apartments because it's only really for singles and couples, and then your tenancy rate is going to be highly turned over because those people usually will want to have kids and they need to upsize. So you're going to have people coming in and out. So minimum 2 bedrooms is what I would recommend. Secondly, really high body corporates. When you are in a multi-level complex and it's got your pool, tennis court, sauna, gym, spa, all those amenities, as well as a lift, then you are going to be paying a lot more in your body corporate. And I didn't run my numbers at the time, which really sucks because I'm an engineer and I'm all about the numbers. I'm all about the data. I'm all about understanding if things work. I'm black and white. And I didn't even think to do that because I was like, oh my God, $450,000 right on the beach, done. And I think that one was a bit of an emotional buy for us as well because we didn't have a place we were renting. So we were rent investors at the time. Amazing. We're going to be buying properties, renting where we want, which again was beachside. And this way we could own a beachside property. So there was that emotional pull to it. And then there's also the council rates. So not only was the body corporate really high, but that property is double the council rates per quarter that I pay for my townhouse in an inner suburb. So bigger land, bigger property, half the council rates of this apartment, of a 1-bedroom apartment that's next to the beach. So you need to run these numbers. If I had done that from the start, property probably wouldn't have made sense. At the moment, though, I don't really regret it because we did buy it for so cheap and it has actually gotten about $300,000 worth of value in the past 3 years. So we've done really well with it. And I think that was purely based on its location. But when you are having to fork out every quarter the body corporate and the council fees, it does hurt a little bit. And that's just something that, again, lesson number 2, do your numbers. I've actually got a spreadsheet and a due diligence checklist and a guide for first-time investors to help you through this because it is so critical in terms of making a sustainable portfolio, in holding a sustainable portfolio. And what I mean by that is something that you can build off when you've got those high rents, those high rates, those high body corporate fees. It's really hard to make your rental income become positively geared, for your property to become positively geared from the rental income, because you have to pay for these, and these things still go up. So you might be charging more rent each year, but these are also going up at the same time. So it's just one of those things you really need to understand and do your numbers. If you are after that, I have in the show notes below, I will have a link to the First Time Investors Guide, which has the spreadsheet and the due diligence checklist, as well as a guide to help you on your investment journey. One good thing that did come from that property, though, really was that it was an older property. So there is value add opportunities in there, which I absolutely love, because I can do up the bathroom. So cosmetically, it would look amazing. The floors have those, the ceilings have that popcorn kind of ceiling. So again, we can grind that back, make it more modern. The carpets we can do up as well, and the kitchen. So there are things that we can add value to in the future as these things start to deteriorate, which will add more value and again, help us boost to build our portfolio, which is our ultimate goal. Now, here's the part of my story that I think will resonate with a lot of you, especially if you are on the cusp of your 20s to 30s, because I find that that's a bit of a turning point for when you realize what investing is all about. For most of my life, I thought property investing will just deteriorate my lifestyle, and it was purely for my children that I didn't even know I wanted. Now, in my 20s, my ultimate goal was just to travel to as many places as I could. And that's exactly what I did. I traveled to over 30 places before the age of 30, different countries, and I had done multiple of those countries multiple times. And it was just the best time of my life. Every single European and American summer, I would have enough money to saved up from that previous year to then go and travel for 4 to 6 weeks, come back, continue my university, and keep saving again whilst I was working casual in retail. So that funded my lifestyle, and I was staying with my parents, so literally had zero expenses. All my money was going towards travel and going out. And so I thought, okay, if I own an investment property, I'm going to have to fork out money from that fund, from my travel fund. And how long do I have this kind of lifestyle for? Why would I give it up for the sake of these children that I don't even know I want? And so that was a huge limiting belief for me when it came to investing in property, that's why I held off investing in property in my 20s, in my early 20s. I started investing in property in my mid-20s when I realized that my pay slip alone, my 9-to-5 engineering job, isn't going to provide me with the lifestyle that I want. And I don't want to be working for the rest of my life. So the best investment that I could see that would leverage and make my money work the hardest was property. And it was also the easiest decision because there is always demand for property. We have migrants coming in exponentially every single year. We have low supply because we can't keep up with all that migration and the birth rates and all that. And so I'm also a major in finance, and I did a lot of economics during my high school years. And so I understand that your demand and supply curve. So basically when you have high demand with low supply, you actually go into a phase where the prices will go up. And so that's what the property market in Australia is like, because there are only certain areas that people want to live in. And after COVID, those things changed, and that's why the markets have flipped, where you see Melbourne and Sydney not so popular, and you see Queensland and Perth more popular. But all in all, the property prices, when you zoom out, have always gone up, and they will always go up unless you have an oversupply and an under demand. So basically, back to my story, I was basically thinking, okay, well, I need to do something. Let's invest in property. I can do both. And at that time, I was renting. I was, on my own and investing and, paying for bills and traveling as well. I was doing it all. And I don't mean just like traveling locally. Like I did a lot around Australia. At the time it was COVID, so I couldn't really venture too far out. Right after those doors had opened for us to actually do overseas travel. We traveled to Europe, we traveled to the States. Within 1 year, we had done both. My leave at my work was negative. So, yeah, we really made the most of that. And also had bought 2 investment properties at the same time. So, yeah, there were 2 of us, so it made it easy. But even when it was one of me, when it was just me and I had my 1 investment property, I could still live that lifestyle of travel, investing, and living. So it is possible, and I feel like that's what a lot of people are pulling back from investing, because they see, it's just like, it's a mortgage, it's for the rest of your life. It's something that your parents are probably like, do you really want to do that? Because they probably have never done it themselves, or if they have, they've had bad stories, and then you just don't know where to invest, so you just don't, or what to invest in, so again, you just don't. And the biggest learning here is just get in. If you are in a position to buy, then buy. And something you can afford, something that makes sense numbers-wise, and something in an area that you understand is going to bring in people to want to live there. Not something that you want to live in, but something that other people will want to live in. Because if you buy something you want to live in, most likely 9 times out of 10, that's going to be like a blue chip suburb. You won't be able to afford it. You're going to try and save to get it. And you're just going to be chasing your tail because the property market moves a lot faster than your income does and your savings. So for a while, my husband and I were rent investors, basically, renting where we want to live and then buying property. So what that does is it actually increases your borrowing capacity. Because instead of living in a house that you've bought and you've got those monthly repayments, you're paying less on your rent. So your expenses are less, which means your capacity goes up. But then we had to change our strategy slightly because we wanted to renovate a property. So we like to try different things, see what, people are saying on the internet and try those trends. So tried the whole house and land thing, fail, would not do that again. Tried the Airbnb thing, didn't fail. But we're now moving into long-term rental just because of the stability of it. It's very seasonal with Airbnb. Up until last year, we were doing amazing. Everything was neutral to positively geared, so just on the cusp of positively geared. But you're finding that right now, I don't know what's happened, but there's not that many holiday goers anymore. And I think actually, I know what's happened. It's the whole living crisis the cost of living crisis that's happening. So people can't afford as many holidays and our property is suffering because of that. Well, our pockets are suffering because of that. So we're moving to long-term rental. So Airbnb, I don't know how those people do it that literally live off the Airbnbs. Maybe one day I will figure it out and do it myself. But for now, I'm going to give that one a pass as well. And the final one that we did see is renovating property. So buying something old, renovating it, getting the capital growth from that, so the equity from that, and then purchasing the next property with that equity so that you can keep building your portfolio. So your rental income goes up, the value of the property goes up, and then you just rinse and repeat. But the problem that we were finding was we couldn't afford to work full-time, both of us, renovate the property ourselves, pay for that mortgage, and pay for our rent of the place that we were living at. We also didn't have a great deposit, so it was better for us to go in the home buyers scheme, which allowed us to do a 5% deposit instead of a 10% deposit. We also got a discount on stamp duty because that's what happens when you buy your own property in comparison to an investment property where you have to pay the full stamp duty. And we didn't get LMI, which is your lender's mortgage insurance, which is paid if you have a deposit of less than 20%. So it ticked a lot of boxes for us to do that. And it was definitely worth it. Right now, our property has actually gone up over $200,000 in less than a year. And we haven't even renovated it yet. So that's purely based on what's happening in the market. So we bought in a really good location. We bought a good property size that has demand for small families. And also now that we are adding value to it, that is going to increase the equity even more. And that to me right now is the best model, which is one that I promote a lot to my clients if they have that hunger to do a little bit of renovating. And they don't necessarily need to do it themselves. I actually help my clients out with some of their renovations as well, but there's a lot that you can do. And we always do our numbers before we actually purchase the property to understand, okay, this is what your budget would be and this is what the outcome would be before we get into any of that. Now, why are we doing all of this? Why are we putting ourselves through this financial stress? Because at the end of the day, yes, we're doing it all, but we're juggling a lot and we do get stressed. It's not all, yes, we can make it happen. Yes, we can make it happen, but there are some things that you have to forfeit. You can't go out for dinners all the time. You can't be buying those fancy cars. You can't go shopping to your heart's content. So there's a lot of things that we've had to choose our priorities. And our priorities are mostly travel. So it's like, okay, that's fine. We'll meal prep most of our weeks as long as we can go on a holiday once a year. That's fine. We don't have to buy a second car because we're going to fund towards the property renovation and traveling. But our ultimate why we're doing this is because we want to be able to build a portfolio that works for itself, that makes work optional for us. And that creates opportunities. It creates more choice. It creates less fear. You don't have to worry about what the government is doing, what regimes they have. You don't have to worry about your pay slips or asking people for leave. You don't have to worry about your super and, your retirement scheme, because you are setting yourself up for something in the future that you can achieve in the next 10 years. And so by the time before we're 50, so in our 40s basically, is when we want to be like, okay, we don't have to work. Our portfolio is working for us, but we want to. Or maybe we want to this year, but we want to take next year off and then we'll see how we go. We want those options. And that is, I find 9 times out of 10, the why for many of my clients. They just want options and they don't want to be a slave to their mortgage, a slave to their salary, their employee. And business owners also, they don't necessarily want to be working for the rest of their lives, especially small business owners that can't seem to expand. They need that other type of income to help them. And business owners is an interesting one because they can change their income status, which means, their amount of income that they claim, which means that their borrowing capacity can increase a lot quicker than someone who's earning PAYG, so your 9-to-5ers. And this is one thing you definitely need to clarify before you get into purchasing property. What is your why? Why are you investing in property in the first place? Because if you don't know why you're investing, then how are you going to know what type of strategy, how many properties you need, what you are working towards, when you're going to pull the plug, when you sell, like all of these different things that will create an outcome might not be the outcome that you want. So outcome first. Why are you doing this? What is your goal? And then you find the strategy. We work backwards. We reverse engineer it. And that's what I do with my clients. Because that is my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is to help as many people as I can build that wealth. Build the wealth that is so amazing that you can choose to retire early. Work becomes optional. You don't have to work. You work because you want to, not because you have to. And that is ultimately my why for being a buyer's advocate. Because I want to help people get there and create bespoke strategies for them to get there as quick as possible, but in the most sustainable way as possible as well. So now you know a bit about me, you know about my channel, you know why I'm here, and you know that I'm trying to help you build a portfolio, build your wealth so you can have the best ultimate life ever. Because I truly believe that by having investments in your life, you will get there faster. You will get to that end, that goal a lot quicker. And whether you like it or not, money is a huge part of today's society. And it doesn't make you happy alone, but it helps make you happier than you could be without it because you don't have as many stresses. about money when you have money. Okay, so doing a quick recap on my 3 lessons learned, guys. Definitely write this down, put this on your vision board. Just make sure you remember this so that you can understand, so that you don't make the mistakes that I made in the past. Number 1, nothing is for free. If something is for free, question it and make sure you are happy with that answer and understanding that it's not going to be for you. Number 2, buy the numbers, not the glamour. Make sure you really understand what all the costs are for that property and what your rental return is, and then judge, can I afford those repayments every month? Can I afford to take that chunk out to go towards body corporate and council rates? And am I going to be happy with that? You need to know that. And number 3, your income buys assets, and your assets are what build the wealth. Your income doesn't build the wealth. It's the assets, because they compound, because they grow. My next few episodes, I'm going to talk about things like due diligence. I'm going to talk about the market. I'm going to talk about your different types of strategies, what's for who, understanding pretty much everything you can about the Australian property market. And I'm always open to hearing more about what you want to hear. So write in the comments, what do you want to know? What questions you have. Like I said, I'm also on social media. So I'm on Instagram at Vanessa V. Dallas. I'll have everything that you need to know in the show notes. So make sure to subscribe to learn more about property investing in Australia in today's world that is relevant to now, and to learn from the lessons and the mistakes that I've made so that you don't make them yourself. I'm Vanessa Dallas, and I'll see you in the next video.